Zach was like, oh, you're headed to the cannolis, aren't you? And I was like, you know what? Now I am. I'm feeling a little bit off kilter because I almost just started recording this clip and then my ring light came crashing down to earth from where I have it. Just like, it's just up on a shelf. I guess I can show you. Shield your eyes. That's where it is. It came crashing down to earth, which was terrifying. But hello, I'm Anna. Welcome to another weekly vlog. I am a medical social worker. I am a 23-year-old working my little full-time job, my little post-grad life, living in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm so glad that you're here on this Monday evening after work. Look, this is for dinner. It's a little like beef stew. Zach is doing dinners this week and he said he looked up cozy fall recipes for crock pots. And then everything that he picked for this week is a cozy fall recipe for a crock pot. So we'll see what the variation is like, but yeah, today it's like potatoes, carrots, beef. Probably could have guessed all of that. I honestly don't want to beat around the bush anymore because I'm so excited to make this announcement, but I am thrilled. I have been waiting to introduce you to the sponsor of today's video. So you probably already have heard about them if you have been on this channel. Especially I did a whole lot with them at the end of last year and like beginning of this year, and that is socialworkdegrees.org. Social Work Degrees is a comprehensive all-in-one resource for social workers, both current social workers and future social workers, prospective social workers. Their website has all kinds of information on everything social work, and there are articles written by me on there, there are articles written by other social workers on there, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. The thing that I'm really here to talk about is, if you remember back in April, I was working on something big during my little unemployment era and I vlogged it a bit. So the project that I'm going to be working on this whole week, but also getting ready for right now, I'm super excited about. It's going to consist of me interviewing different social workers. I'm so excited for it. Partly because I know it's going to be helpful to people who are watching, but then also just because like it's some really cool people that I get to talk to, and so I'm just excited to like learn from them and see like what they have to say and hear more about their stories and everything. Okay, I'll do a quick little introduction and then introduce you and we'll get going.
I feel like we all have our different experiences and I learn from them on a daily basis.
Yeah, there is something about these interviews that is like fulfilling such a fun thing for me, and it's so cool having like being able to talk to someone like that. Like I've seen her videos, like we've commented to each other, but actually be like, oh my gosh, you're real and you're really cool. I just finished the last of my like social work interviews for the week. I got my little setup. Look, I got my little setup of like my laptop and my ring light. Now ahead of me will just be a lot of editing. I got to talk to so many cool social workers and I kept talking about like the work I was doing, and that is because I am hosting a little podcast by Social Work Degrees called Voices of Social Work Podcast. So by the time that this video is up, there will be at least one, maybe 2 episodes released, but there will definitely be some still coming. They're going to be coming every other Wednesday for the ones that we have recorded and have ready to go so far. I poured like my heart and soul into these interviews and editing these interviews, so not only will it mean a lot to me if you go and listen, you can find the Voices of Social Work on YouTube for like the full videos, or they're also going to be on Spotify for the audio version. So not only did I work so hard on them, but also I talked to really cool people, and I feel like if you are interested like in me at all, you are probably also interested in other social workers who have different experiences than me. Social Work Degrees is kind of like teasing who the guest is before each episode releases, and so that's kind of a fun little game to play too if you follow them on Instagram, which if you don't, you should. That's what I'm here to tell you in the sponsorship. Follow them on Instagram for like the most up-to-date information. But their Instagram is Social Work Degrees, the website is socialworkdegrees.org, and the podcast is The Voices of Social Work, hosted by yours truly. I'm so excited for this project. So they are the sponsor of this video. Thank you for sponsoring this video. I genuinely cannot wait for people to watch these and hear these. As of like right now when I'm filming, none have been released yet, but I am anticipating the day that they are. And go listen to my podcast. Go listen to Social Work Degrees podcast that I participated in. Yeah, thanks to Social Work Degrees for sponsoring today's video. Give me a second to eat my stew. I'll talk to you about work either today or tomorrow. I always like intend for it to be today, but sometimes it's tomorrow. I don't know. I got a good feeling about this week. Good feeling headed into this week, so I'm so glad you're here.
Saw you paint a picture of a face.
Hello. Today's cozy fall recipe made by Zach was this like chili mac and cheese, which my stomach is so full right now. Like I'm a full mac and cheese food babying it right now, but it's been great. I also this evening finished Dune, the book, which I'm so grateful for because I've been reading the same book from August 30th until September 12th, which is longer than I've spent on a book in a very long time. And it's not like it got bad, but it just got kind of slow towards the end. And so I was in this mood of, I've been reading the same book for so long, I just want something different, and now it's slow. But the last 2 chapters picked back up again. So I finished it and I started a new book, blah, 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 blah. The thing that I actually wanted to talk to you about was work today and kind of like my thoughts. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I'm a medical social worker working in a children's hospital. And so what that means is that I'm a family support role. So I work with the parents mostly of the children who are hospitalized. I feel like something that I've been really consciously trying to work on lately is getting my introduction spiel down and kind of like my first initial goals whenever I meet a family. So like families that I meet, there can be various different circumstances that are bringing them into the hospital. Sometimes it might be a baby that was just born and now they're in the ICU. Lots of times with cardiac diagnoses, with like the congenital heart defects that babies can be born with. Lots of times it is caught prenatally, so maybe the parents will have been prepared that they will have to come to the ICU once the baby is born. Sometimes they are not caught prenatally though, and it obviously is a huge shock whenever a baby is born and then maybe a heart murmur is detected, or maybe their like oxygen saturations are lower than they should be, something like that, and baby has to get brought to the ICU. That can be shocking. Some other instances that can bring families in to meet me, maybe surgeries, like planned surgeries. Sometimes a emergency department admission will then turn into an ICU stay, so that can be a situation that a family is coming off of by the time I see them. Various different situations. Main thing being, usually my first interaction with a family is introducing myself and then also introducing like what I do so that the rapport can start to be established, but also they can understand like what a social worker may be able to help them with while they're in the hospital, which is something that I am trying to figure out like what my good spiel is, because I haven't found just like a good wording. I feel like, because whenever I say like, oh, I'm like here to support the parent, you guys, like while you're here, like that can mean so many different things. And that partly is because the job can mean so many different things. Like I can be a listening ear, I can help find financial resources, I can help with communication between medical team and family, I can provide work excuses, I can provide referrals to community agencies, I can provide food assistance, you know, like those kinds of things. It's like I can do various different things, but each family has different needs. And so I don't like, I just haven't found my like welcome spiel yet. I feel like I'm trying different things out and I don't know what's good or not yet. And that's what I'm working on. So right now, what I'm trying to focus on whenever I like meet a family for the first time, usually I do check like in that first interaction, it's not the first question, but I do check if parents are taking time off of work, like if they need a work excuse, if they need help with FMLA paperwork, that kind of thing. Because lots of times, if so, then that's just like immediately a reduced stressor for them that I can just like help with very easily on my part. Because I mean, a work excuse, I just, you know, type that up and print it off. And then FMLA paperwork, I just contact a provider, help them fill it out, give it back to the parent. So on my part, it's pretty easy. So I've been trying to check in about that. I usually check in like where the family plans to stay, whether on site at the hospital, whether they're staying at home. Kind of going along with that, I'll check like if the patient has siblings. And honestly, that's just kind of like to know, because I can't help much with siblings. You know, like I wish I could, you know, provide childcare or something. I cannot. But it is helpful to know, to kind of understand like what a parent is juggling at the time, like work excuse, where they're staying, siblings. I'm starting to ask about transportation in that first interaction. I didn't used to do that, but then I feel like sometimes people maybe don't have too reliable transportation, or like that's kind of a struggle of theirs. But then like if I don't ask, I don't find that out. So I've started to ask about that. I don't know. I'm just working on that part right now. I just feel like that's so important, because like an introduction can set the tone for future professional relationship, and it's something that's so important and can be something that it takes a while to be good at. I feel like I kind of like mastered my little introduction whenever I was in the jail job, and I think part of that was feeling like more comfortable working with teenage clients, because like they're younger than me. I feel like the power differential is a little bit different. environment to where it was more like trying to convince them that I'm cool, you know? Whereas like working with parents, it's like trying to convince them that I'm useful and I can actually do my job and be a professional. But no matter where you work in social work, you'll have that first step of the social work helping process, which is the engagement with the client. I guess if we're using technical terms, that's what I'm talking about, that I'm trying to get better at, is the initial engagement. Because I feel like on a person-to-person level, I can be good at starting conversation, like that kind of thing, but just being like the most strategic about my engagement, my step one with families, is what I'm really trying to work on. And I think because I'm trying to work on it, it like makes me a little bit nervous now whenever I am meeting a family for the first time, because I'm like analyzing every single thing I say. And I know eventually it'll just come naturally. And some days I feel like it does come more naturally. And then some days it's like I'll have an introduction and then I'll be like, I don't even know if they know what social work does here. You know, where it's like my goal was to introduce myself and my services. Can you tell I did some introductions today? I know I usually get comments of people saying that like it's helpful whenever I talk about or show even what I do in a day, like the day-to-day basis, the daily tasks, that kind of thing. And that's something that I really looked for whenever I was a social work student. So I'll definitely continue doing that. But like, are these little trains of thought helpful too? I think I include them in vlogs sometimes because I know that I can't be the only one that thinks about like stuff like this, like literally the social work helping process as I'm a social worker. Of course people think about it, but is it helpful to hear like my train of thought while I think about it? Because I know that everyone's job can be so different, and so like the way that people do things is so different. I think as I'm becoming more capable in the different types of tasks, like as I have done more types of paperwork more times and gotten more comfortable with it, or like certain processes for certain things, or referring people to certain things, as I become more comfortable with those things, I think I'm not dreading, that's a bad word. I think I'm less apprehensive about introductions with families because I know that like no matter what needs come up, I theoretically will be able to address them. I think in the beginning of a job, and this is pretty natural, I would feel kind of nervous because like you don't know a family before you get to know them, duh. And so in my head I'd be like, oh, but what if they ask me this question, I don't know the answer to it, or like what if they ask me about this type of thing and I don't know like where to refer them to. So I think that the confidence is getting higher in that, which is why now I'm like actually taking the time to be like, okay, can I be the best that I can be? And something else that's super important is like your affect whenever you're introducing yourself to clients. Something that I tend towards in like the bad habit type of thing is that I think I can get worked up sometimes, like talking really fast, being, I don't know if like bubbly is the right word, but I think when I get nervous, my energy levels kind of go up here. So I'm be like talking with my hands, talking really fast, like maybe not giving time for questions or something like that. So something that I really remind myself whenever I'm going into a first interaction now with a family is like take some deep breaths, calm down, like just having a calming presence can be something that is very helpful, which like I think naturally I tend towards more of a calming presence until I get in those situations where I'm nervous, and that's something else that I'm working on. But I think I've worked on that. Like I think I'm getting pretty good at that now. So now it's the actual spiel that I'm working on. Anyways, I've been graduated for a year and 3 months, and I am very much still a social worker in progress.
Face that wasn't even close to mine. I know I shouldn't be in love, but it's so hard to move on. You haven't changed, you stayed the same. But if you did, I'd still love you anyway. I'd give you the world like I promised I would.
Let me tell you, it was hard getting out of bed this morning, and I'm still shocked that I am up and vertical. Today's Thursday, so I have my long rounds in the morning because the acute care unit has their rounds just weekly instead of daily, and so I have my acute care unit rounds into the ICU unit, well, ICU rounds. We do rounds just to learn like if anything new is going on with the patient, basically, because then you don't really know like how to support a family if you don't really know what's going on with them. Other than that, I don't really know what the day will consist of. Ooh, I think I have a CEU in the afternoon that is understanding suicidality in young adults. So it's honestly a lot more relevant to my previous job than my current one, but I still thought that it would be a good learning experience to go to. So I'm doing that virtually from 3 to 4 p.m. And then yesterday, actually, I got another CEU. I feel like they come in clusters, which is weird, but I had another CEU that was called It's Over, But I'm Not Over It Yet. And it's an ethics CEU. And they basically just talked about like stories of things that people have been through that, you know, it's like time has passed, but they're still affecting you. And so I feel like you probably guessed like a lot of the stories were related to COVID-19, and especially that a lot of the people were working in the hospital during that time. And like, even though things are different now and not the same normal that they were prior to the pandemic, but in a different type of more normal than it was during the pandemic. And like, healthcare workers went through so much during that time that, you know, like, they're not over it yet, which makes sense because they were doing so much. And that's just an interesting CEU. It's over, but I'm not over it yet. And it was more general than just the pandemic, but that just came up quite a bit because it is a universal experience, especially for the people that were working in healthcare at the time, which obviously I was not. I was in school. I was so exhausted yesterday. And for what? Oh my gosh. For what? I don't know. I've been waking up at 5 to go like either work out, or sometimes I've been waking up at 5 at like one of my rest days too, but I go to bed at 9:30. So I still am getting a lot of sleep, but I am quite sleepy. I'm gonna make coffee and a smoothie for breakfast. That's been a fun little routine. Maybe read my book, maybe edit a video a little bit. We'll just see. Oh my gosh. Maybe stop yawning. Just need to like inject coffee into my veins today. Let's get on with the day. But first, coffee.
Even though you wouldn't do the same, I'd give you the world like I promised you would.
Oh, TD. I feel kind of cute today, to be honest. This shirt is from Lulu, and it's so soft. Like, it's not an athletic material. It's just like a cozy material, and I love it a lot. I'm wearing my gray pants. I think I need to get like at least another pair of scrubs, because right now I have 3 that I split between 5 weekdays. I have these ones, the purple ones and the pink ones. Maybe I'll spend some time looking into that. Got my backpack on that Ralph Lauren sent last week that I've been using every day since, which has been awesome since I've been walking. So I got some shorts and a short sleeve shirt in here too for the afternoon because it gets a bit warmer. And then these glasses are me totally being fake because I don't need glasses. They're blue light glasses, but really the reason I'm wearing them is I didn't put eye makeup on this morning. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, I think you can tell. This eye is like irritated and I don't know from what. It's not like super painful, like it feels kind of irritated. And my theories is that before, whenever I've had dairy quite a bit, because I don't know, like it's not a dairy sensitivity, but it's also not quite an allergy. I'm not really sure. But before I've like broken out in kind of a rash whenever I have not been limiting dairy, and I have had a bit of dairy in the past probably like week or so. And before it was on my eyelid that like it got all red and like rash-like whenever I was eating it. This was probably like 3 years ago or so. But I guess the skin on your eyelid is just like extra sensitive, and so that's what the doctor said of why it might break out there. But it feels a little bit different right now than it did last time. But that's a theory. Another theory is I just started using a lash serum again. I like had wanted to get lash extensions. I really love lash extensions. I've gotten them once in my life, and I think it would be so cool to just like have them and upkeep them. However, that is very expensive and kind of a big commitment. So I was like, okay, I'll just start using my lash serum again, because I did this time last year and my lashes got so long. So I probably started using it like last week or so. And so that's another theory of like maybe just something in that irritated my eye because it wasn't quite used to it. But righty is just fine. It's only lefty that's irritated. So I didn't want to put makeup on it today. And so glasses it is. But this is a fun outfit. And then I keep a cardigan at work, so I'll probably put that on at some point. But I'm gonna go, whoa, that's terrifying. Gonna do my little morning walk, my little morning jaunt for another work day.
Even though you wouldn't do the same, had this conversation more than 10 times. After 9, I still wish you were mine. Having 8 and 7.
It is a little rainy evening that we have going on, and I am about to have a call with social work degrees, so I mean that's good timing. But as of sounds like one of my windows is open, but I didn't open them. The first episode of the podcast released on Wednesday, so we're kind of just going to talk about the project, you know, and how to go forward, that kind of thing. So I'm going to pull up my Zoom invite so that I am all ready. And then my like secondary task, since I still have a little bit until the call is actually starting, is an acquaintance just let me know they're coming to Atlanta for the weekend, so I'm like coming up with my recommendations, my restaurant recommendations, and my like where to hang out recommendations. Should I do my ring light for my call, or is that extra? I feel like the computer itself maybe is a ring light. Happy end of the day though. Zach is making jambalaya for dinner tonight. That's the portion that we're at in our cozy fall recipe week, is jambalaya. So I'm very excited for that. Got a lot of good things this evening.
Days, 'cause I've been up till 6 a.m. Well, 5 songs I'll just
I will almost 100% be getting rained on today as I walk. Also, it's an uphill, so don't mind the breathing. But driving wouldn't even be an option today because Jill Biden is coming to the area. She's like touring a research center, which is cool, but also means that a lot of roads are getting shut down. And so I have to make it to my bus because I think the buses get let through. Well, the buses do get let through, but we wouldn't be able to drive today. So walking was gonna be the only option. And it shows like high chance of rain in the next like 3 minutes. So if me and my smoothie get soggy, just think about us, okay?
I'd do anything you want me to. 'Cause I love you.
I don't mean to alarm anyone, but I did get cannolis, and I do have a fun little drink, which, yes, are my comfort foods after I've had a rough day. You can't get cannolis just for anything, but for today, you can get cannolis. Now, you can get cannolis for just anything. I wasn't even planning to like continue the vlog today, but then I was like, I want to sit and chat. So now here we are sitting and chatting. It's not that it was like a bad day at all. It was just kind of like a dreary Saturday. So I really didn't get out of the house all too much for the day. Like I did lay down and read for a while, and that was a fun activity for myself. But then I also just spent a whole lot of time cleaning, which was not awful. And I chose to do that. And I just like put on some YouTube and was cleaning, but you just don't really feel like rested, I feel like, afterwards. I don't know if you can tell, I put up Zach's All-American little thing, and then there's a clock over here. It looks like it's crooked on camera, and that was really bugging me, but it's because I have a wide angle lens, and so like it kind of warps it. Like, see, if we put it in the middle, you can tell it's not crooked, but if I angle it like this, it looks crooked. I promise I know how to put up a picture. And a clock. So fun things going on, but I was finishing editing the video that would have gone up. For me, it's tomorrow. For you, it was last week. And there were just so many technical difficulties that kept happening that were just so frustrating. It was like while I was exporting it, the video is supposed to be, I think like 32 minutes, 34 minutes, something like that. The first time I export the video, I upload it to YouTube, and it's only 21 minutes long. So I was like, that seems wrong. Like, what's going on there? And it just fully cut off the last third of the video. So I delete it. I like go through, it still shows the whole video's there. So I export it again, check it before I upload it this time. And it was still that like 21 minute mark. It froze, and it was the right length of time, but it was just like that one still shot for the rest of the like next 11 minutes, which also is not correct. So I deleted it again. And what I ended up doing was just export it straight to my hard drive, which I hadn't been doing because I don't usually need to do. And then it was successful, and then I uploaded it, which just took a lot of time and like some problem solving. That's fine. No huge deal. Not a huge deal. But then, so I still had some like things that I wanted to do, and it was probably about like 4:15. The library closes at 6, and I just got the email today that the 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hildebrand was ready for me to pick up at the library, which I have been waiting on that one. I have been so excited for that one. And I have 2 books now that I can return, so I was like, oh fun, I'll just make a little library trip. I have 2 other books that are on hold too, ready to pick up. So I have like the 5-Star Weekend, I have the one with the octopus on the cover that's like the Remarkable Beautiful Things. I don't remember what it's called. And then I have something else that's ready to pick up too. So I was a little bit stressed, like figuring out time-wise in my head, because I also had someone who was coming to pick something up from Facebook Marketplace that I was selling. So I was just like trying to figure things out in my head, and I was like, I'll just set out the thing for Facebook Marketplace so that whenever, if she texts me and she's like, okay, I'm on my way, it can just already be out even if I'm gone from the house. So I set out the thing from Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, okay, I'll go to the library, and then I'll get back, and then I'll work out, and then maybe I'll go on a walk. Like I was figuring all this out in my head, and I felt like anxious about it, but just because I wanted to like get all my things done. I go to my car. This is where the whole story is leading, if you can't tell. I go to my car, I press unlock, nothing happens. I was like, well, maybe the remote, the fob just didn't hit the right place, you know? Press unlock again, still nothing happened. And I was like, in that moment, I knew exactly what was going on now, because this has happened, I feel like, too many times with my car where it'll just super die. Like, not just like, oh, the car won't turn on, like the battery's dead. It's like the car doesn't even have enough battery in it to electrically unlock, which I feel like doesn't take anything. Like, super die. So I was right. I had to like manually unlock it. I sit in the car, everything's dark, I put my key in the ignition, nothing happens. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this again. Because I mean, to be fair, the last time it died was in April, but I remember the last time before that, it just like has happened throughout my time having this car, that it'll just randomly super die. And it's not due to me leaving lights on, like the headlights turn off, all of that. So back in April, I went and got it like checked, like the battery checked just in case, and they said the battery was fine at that time. So while I was sitting in my car, I just like called my car place and I was like, I don't know if I need to make an appointment or not, like what do you recommend? And he was like, well, go ahead and get it jumped, you can bring it in, we can run the same test that we did in April, which in April was free. They just like ran the test. They're like, nothing's wrong, we didn't do anything. They're like, we'll run the same test, we'll check the battery, we'll check the starter, we'll check the alternator. If all of those things are fine, there might be something that's like taking power that shouldn't be, or like that you don't even know about. Like maybe there's like a light in the trunk or something that's not turning off. Or he said another common thing is that like maybe the radio is draining power and stuff like that, which when he said that, I was kind of like, I feel like that's probably what the problem is, because there have been times, like I've had this car since 2018, this has happened like sporadically since then. There have been times that I'll like unlock my car, sit in it, not put my key in the ignition, not touch anything yet, and the radio, like AM FM, will just start blaring. And I never have the radio set to that. Like I always have it on aux. I never listen to the actual radio, but it'll just like randomly start blaring whenever it technically shouldn't be able to be on at all, because I don't put my key in the ignition. So when he said that, I was like, that seems like that's probably it. And so I had to like call roadside assistance through my insurance and got my car jumped, and I took it to the car shop just now, and they had already closed by that point, which he had told me, and that was fine. So I like did the little key drop off, and Zach came to pick me up. And then it was whenever we were heading home from that Zach was like, I feel like we should go to Publix and we should get you a cannoli. Well, really he said a pint of ice cream, but then when we walked in, pint of ice creams are to the left, cannolis are to the right. The individual slices of cake that I sometimes get, that I prefer from Kroger, but Publix also has them, are to the right. And it was just like my body just headed towards the right. And I was thinking of the cakes at first, but Zach was like, oh, you're headed to the cannolis, aren't you? And I was like, you know what? Now I am headed to the cannolis. But look at this monster. Chocolate dipped on one side, chocolate chipped on the other. Can you believe it? I don't even know where to begin. And then I also got raspberry rose poppy, so that should be good too. I also made 2 online orders today, which were not a result of like the car bad day, but I feel like were a result of just like the gloomy Saturday. And I was like, yeah, I probably should get this. And so I ordered from Book Outlet, which honestly is a really cool website. They don't always have like every book you could be looking for, but when they do have books, they're cheap. Today I got 7 books for $45, which felt like they're basically paying me to take these books. Girl math, you know? I'll link Book Outlet. I think you may get a perk if I refer you to Book Outlet, so I'll link them down below if you're in the market for some online books. And I also got 2 spooky t-shirts. And by spooky t-shirts, let me show you them. I got them off TikTok Shop. I think the seller also sells on Etsy, but I want to give credit where credit is due, you know? Both of these t-shirts I got like pretty big so they can be like pump covers at the gym, because I only have one right now that works for that. Look at this. Isn't that awesome? And I got the dark gray color for this one because I felt like it looked really good. You know, just 2 ghosts reading by the campfire in a full moon. Love that. And then the other one I got, and this one I got in this green color too. I got both of them in the ones that they're displayed in. Wait for it to focus. Look at that. Cow ghost. I honestly don't know how TikTok Shop works. I honestly wish you like couldn't buy things on TikTok, because I feel like they overdo it with the like buying things now. But here I am buying things. I can only be exposed to something for so many times before I buy it. And they know that. They know exactly what I want and they show it to me. This is the shop that I got them from. So I'm gonna have 3 spooky season clothes that I will definitely wear past October 31st. Anyways, thanks for cheering me up today. I feel like talking about it helped. Basically with my car, today's Saturday. They're closed on Sunday. It'll just be Monday. He only has like walk-in availability. He doesn't have like appointment availability. So he just said that they'll kind of start to look at it as they can. And I was like, no big deal, because Zach and I can make 1 car work between us. Like, it's not the most convenient, but we can. So that'll be maybe Monday, maybe later, that I actually like hear something about the car. Whether it's like, I don't know, the radio needs to be fixed or whatever is gonna go on. And it's not the most pressing issue, because it's like I can drive it safely when I can, but it's just so inconvenient for the battery to just like randomly die all the time. Especially like I don't have jumper cables. I probably should, especially since this is a problem that I have. Or one of those little like portable batteries that people have. I should just get one of the, honestly, let me browse Amazon. Maybe I should just get one of those. Anyways, it's not like the most pressing issue, because I technically can drive it even if this isn't fixed, but it definitely is gonna be, I don't know, it's making me feel better if this is fixed. So like I said, thanks for for cheering me up, even though you didn't even know you did. Granted, it could be the cannoli too. The video for tomorrow is set and ready to go. I just need to do the thumbnail on it now. So despite all of the technical difficulties that went on, we are good now. So go watch that one if you haven't yet, because I put my blood, sweat, and tears into it. Make sure to subscribe before you go on this one. You know, I don't always tell you to, but I always love when people comment. You know, share the video with a friend. Give it a little thumbs up. I absolutely adore you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. And thank you again to socialworkdegrees.org for sponsoring this video. Make sure to listen to the podcast, The Voices of Social Work, available on Spotify and on YouTube. Okay, bye-bye.